Oh, there's plenty more. So last video I spoke to you about layers and how I like to build them up and do all that kind of stuff. We already saw that one. This is going to be a part 2. What I'm going to do today is talk to you about how do I come up with the composition. So sometimes when I create, I don't have a picture in my head of what I want to create. Instead, I use composition. And I say, okay, this is the composition I want for the piece, not necessarily knowing anything else about what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it. And I just start adding color to the page, and then I make something from it. So I'm going to go through a couple of old ones that I've done and just do an overlay and show you the composition so you can see what I was going for when I actually created what I was creating. And then I'm going to do another piece and show you, I'm going to come up with a composition and I'm going to show you how I do that. Now normally I do this with watercolor and ink. You all see it all the time. That's what I do, watercolor and ink. The thing that you don't see is when I put the watercolor in, I have to sit there and I put this little flat panel fan over the top of the piece so it dries quickly, and I just walk away for a minute and I come back when it's dry, just a couple of minutes, not very long, but it's a few minutes, and then I start putting in the ink. I don't want to do that with you live like this. I'm going to do something where I'm going to talk to you while I'm creating it. So I'm not going to sit there with the fan over it and trying to dry it for like 10 minutes and try and come up with something to say. So what I'm going to do, instead of using the watercolor, I'm going to use some markers. Now, HOTU, I think that's how you say it, HOTU, sent me some markers. It's a 100-piece dual tip marker set. I believe it's a chisel and a fine tip, so it's not the brush tip like I usually use. That's fine. It's like the old Prismacolor markers. You remember those? The old Prismacolors with the chisel tip on one side and then it had the detail on the other side. That's what these are like. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of these markers, and then, these are pretty hefty, but I'm going to use some of these, and then because I have a janky YouTube channel, I'm going to put the caps back on, and I'm going to send them the whole set of 100 to one of you for whatever reason. So I'm not going to use them all, so I'm only going to use a couple, and they will be slightly used on those couple of colors you'll see in the video. But the rest of them are going to come, all of them, I'm going to put the caps back on and send them to you half used. That's how that works. Now, as I go through this drawing, I am going to comment on the markers. That way you know what you're getting if you happen to get the set of markers. So I will be talking about them and saying, okay, they're smooth, they blend, whatever. I'm sure the alcohol markers are alcohol markers. They pretty much are usually all the same as the other alcohol markers, but some of them blend better, some of them blend less. I'm going to be using marker paper. I'm going to be using this render book here. So this is supposed to be for markers. I've used markers in this a bunch, and I'll tell you, it's like the best paper to use with markers. Nothing goes through the page. They're very thin pages, but nothing goes through for some reason. I don't know if they have like plastic in between the pulp or something. I don't know, but the best marker paper I've ever used right here, this render book. All right, let's get into it. Okay, I thought I had tracing paper around here, but it doesn't seem like I can find it. So instead, I'm going to use this glassine sheet here. So let's look at this piece here. One of the things that I said when I was going to look at this was I wanted a low horizon line. So I put a horizon line down here, and then I just wanted things coming up from the horizon line. And I wanted to make it very similar to exactly what you see on there. So one of the things some people do when you want a lot of sky in there, if you're doing a landscape, you want a lot of sky in there, you do a low horizon line, and that's one of the things that you do. That's exactly what I did with this. I just said, what can I do to get this low horizon thing, and that's how I did that. This piece here, let's see if you can see that through there. Kind of you can. So that was made with water-soluble acrylics. So what I said was I was going to do this, come down this way from corner to corner, and then I was going to come up here and then come up here, and then I wanted to make a focal point that was kind of around the rule of thirds, which was up here, and so that's when I put in this round area that's over here. So that's how I came up with this. I said I knew I was going to do this, and I knew I was going to do that, and then I was going to put a focal area on that rule of thirds on the top part there. So it's actually above the rule of thirds, but you get the picture. Okay, so this is a more recent one that I did, and what I did is the same thing that I did in the other one. It's got that low horizon line with stuff coming up from that area. Okay, so this is another more recent one. So the composition with this one was to go like this. And that's basically what I did with it. I wanted to start down over here in the bottom part, and then kind of just bring this out in like a cone shape up here. I kind of added a little swerve in here instead of just going straight on that, but that's basically what I wanted to do. And the composition I had for this one was very similar to that other one. Across here, down here, and down here. That's a common composition in a lot of artwork. And I've seen this in a lot of pieces where it just goes across and down. So when you watch me create this piece, watch me create it. I start here, and then I go up in this general direction, and then I kind of lean back on it, and I bring up this side. So that's exactly what I did. It's exactly the composition that I was looking for. So I had no idea that this was going to be this piece at all. I was just doing it in that composition, and this is what it turned into. So that's how I do a lot of my artwork. I just say, hey, this is what I want it to look like on the page. I want it to go in this general direction. Then I just start putting shapes in that general direction, and this is what you come up with. Or at least this is what I come up with. I have a strange mind sometimes. And just to show you the opposite here, so when I did this piece here, I had a very high horizon line. It was all the way up here because I wanted to highlight all of the stuff down here in the foreground and the landscape and not much of the sky. So that's what I did. I had the line up here, and then all of this was the focus, and the sky really wasn't the focus much at all. Okay, I was going to use the other book, but I said, you know what, sometimes the ink does not dry as fast on that paper, and the whole point of using the alcohol markers is to have it dry fast so that I can show you how I do this composition. So what I'm going to do here is, and oh, look at this. So I just want to point out, they put the stickers on for me. Thank you very much. So I don't need to have my own stickers. I don't need to guess at which numbers these are. The stickers are on there. That's great. And like I said, there's the fine tip there. There's the chisel tip there. So we're going to use some of these and see how they go. Okay, so since I'm going to do this like I do with watercolor, I'm not going to be doing a lot of blending. I'm basically just going to put shapes in color. So let's come up with some kind of composition for this piece. Okay, so I'm going to figure this out here. I think I want to do something tall on this side, but comes down a little bit and then gets a big area over here or something like that. So something that's taller here and then comes over and then gets bigger here. Let's see if we can do something like that. So what I start out with all the time is shapes. That's just how I start. So I just make a shape, and that's going to be my first shape, just like that. That is a dark color. Let's go a little bit light. We'll come in here, and we're just going to do another shape in here. Again, it doesn't matter if these overlap at all. It doesn't matter what they look like. We're just going to do something, a shape just like that. Now, I'm not doing this based on any color scheme, so I don't really care how they look in the beginning anyway. This is basically, I don't care how the colors mix, in other words. I'm just going to put them in however I want to put them in and not really care much about how they look. This is definitely not a color exercise. It is a composition exercise. These are actually very good. I like how they lay down. They're actually very even for something that's, you know, this is not 100% cotton paper. This is just regular pulp paper, and they're laying down very evenly. I'm almost regretting that I said I was going to give them away. I'm only kidding, of course. I'm very happy to do that, and so that's what I will do. Yeah, they're laying down very nice and very smooth and very evenly. I actually really like these. So I am cutting out some of the time that I'm humming and hawing over color selection and what I actually want to create. That's okay. You don't mind that. So long as I just keep showing you what I'm doing, we're all having fun. And where am I coming up with the idea for these colors? I have no idea. I'm just grabbing. I'm just reaching in and starting to grab. That's all. And I don't know if you have any idea of maybe composition that you like to see, because generally when I look at composition, I'm just looking at, I want to fill certain parts of the page in a certain way. I'm not really looking at, oh, this is a classic composition. I know I do the high horizon, the low horizon, if I can get those words out. But a lot of times I'm not doing anything like that. Oh, did I pick? No, this is a different color. Okay. But a lot of times I don't do anything like that. I just do like this, where I'm just deciding that I wanted to do something in a certain way and just fill up a page in a certain way that looks pleasing to me. It might not look pleasing to everybody. Do you focus on composition in your artwork immediately? Is that the first thing you think about? Or is the first thing you think about what you're going to put on the page and then you worry about composition later? For me, I don't. I worry about the composition first, usually. But that's just me. That's just how I am. I'm probably not going to put in the detail, the ink detail, while I'm talking to you, because I think that doing that will just distract me. As you can tell, sometimes I start doing something and then I stop doing it because I forget what I was even talking about, because I'm focused on what I'm doing here, not the other way around. I'm sorry, but in this process, you're just going to have to be okay with being the second in my mind. So we'll put another shape over here. Do you think if Bob Ross did more abstract stuff that he would just call them happy little shapes? Do you think that's what he's doing? Would I be okay saying that? Would I say, "Oh, this is a happy little shape. We're just going to put this shape over here for some reason"? This is your world. Your shapes live wherever you want them to live. And here's a happy little shade right here that's going to live over here. Maybe this guy, he's happy living. Wow, that is a bright color. My goodness, that's a beautiful color, orange. I do love orange, and that's the kind of orange that I like right there. That's a beautiful color. My goodness, I keep grabbing for similar colors all the time. I have brainwashed myself is the problem into thinking that certain colors are just the palette that I like to use. And even though sometimes I use a palette that has nothing to do with that color palette that I normally use, but for the most part I tend to use very similar colors, and they're usually I guess more muted tones. So when I pick these bright colors, I'm usually against picking these bright colors, especially the color like this is just not my thing, but that's okay. So every time I reach back in the set for a color, I don't know why I just come out with the same. This is not the same color as that one. It can't be. I know it's a different marker, but it looks like an orange. It looks like that other orange, doesn't it? Oh, it's not supposed to be. I'm having a very hard time just focusing on, oh, look at that. That's so dark. It's like a sepia color. Oh boy. That's going to be hard to show some detail in, but I'm going to work on it. That's a challenge right there. Don't worry, I accept that challenge. I know you're watching me do this and you're thinking, boy, that guy's really using up all those colors that he's going to send me. But it's not my intention. My intention was not to use up the colors I was going to send you. It's just to use some of these markers as good as I can. And I'm really not using them very much. So you'll have plenty of marker left over when you get these. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be wonderful and fine. You're going to have a wonderful time, I'm sure. If anybody enters the contest. I have trouble with contests on this channel. There's not a lot of people enter the contests. I haven't done one in a while because of that. Do you know that there is on this channel somewhere a contest that has never resolved? No one has entered the contest. So that's a very interesting thing to me. When I think about that, I think, wow, after all the time, no one has. I think it's like might be from when I had 250 subscribers, somewhere around there. The very beginning of the channel, I did a contest and nobody really entered it, and I don't think I ever really went further with it. I think I just stopped it there and said, you know what, forget it, nobody wants to do it, then I'm fine with it. And I just stopped it. It's okay. If you end up going through some of my old videos and you find which one that is, please let me know, because I would like to know which video that was. I would like to know if maybe I should revive the contest and I should finally finish it. Maybe someone will enter it now. I think it was somewhere around 250. I think it might have contest in it. In the title might say contest. Believe me, I know this is not necessarily something that you would do, and probably not something that you would even consider liking, but this exact type of thing. But I want to encourage you to maybe go ahead and do something similar. Figure out the composition. That's the word I was trying to say. The composition. Figure out the composition first, and then decide where you're going to put everything. It's a very interesting process. I enjoy that very much. That is a ridiculous amount of green for someone who says that they don't enjoy many shades of green. I have put a lot of green. That's green too. You know what the problem is? This does not look green. That doesn't look that green to me, but it is, but it doesn't look that color. So I keep grabbing greens. I'm actually looking to grab like a light blue or something. That's a very dark color. For that cap, that's not the color. Here, let me get this on here. That's not the color of that. So the cap colors are not very good on this set. You've got to, I would do a full swatch out of all the colors in the set, all 100 markers, and then figure out which ones you're going to use, which ones you're going to like based on that. Because I cannot figure this out. It just seems to me, I know that one's not green. But I probably used it before somewhere. That's alright. Don't worry about that. Okay, can I get a light blue here? It's a blue. It's not light. Look at that cap color. That's pretty light. It almost looks like this color. But it's darker. It's much darker. That's okay. We make do with what we have. That's how it is with everything in life. You make do with what you have. And don't complain about it. I'm not one of those hyper positive people that always says, "Oh, at least this is okay," or "At least that's okay." I don't do that. Because if you say, "Oh, at least you have this to have a problem," or "At least your day isn't that bad," yeah, well, it's not that good either. I don't think I have a yellow in here yet. Have I found a yellow? That looks like a warm yellow. I'm gonna try it. I don't know if it's gonna work. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's kind of a warm yellow. it's working for a warm yellow right now. So I'll take that to the bank. How about a gray? I have a gray there. I think that's that gray. Let me see here. Oh, I get it. I get it. It has a CG on there. I'm guessing that's a cool gray. That makes a little bit of sense. Let's see. It might be that color, though. Well, let's see. Okay, so it's a cool gray. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a little bit darker than that other color that I had there, so I'm alright with it. Now, when you use markers, usually you're supposed to go very evenly to coat them to see how they... Well, you usually have to go very evenly to coat them. That way you get a smooth gradient in your color. But I've been pretty careless with most of these, and they've come out very smooth. Let's see how this red looks here. Oh, that's not the one that I used, is it? That is a deep red. It looks just like that. I probably used that twice. No, I thought I used this color. I thought I used this as a red 338. This one's a red 218. Very similar to me. That's okay. We will not worry about that. I'm going to be done here shortly with adding the color. And then we're just going to get into, I'm going to get into adding the detail. I'm going to flip it over into a time lapse so you can watch me just put in the color. I mean just the detail. And then I'll sum up the rest of what I was saying here. So I've tried very hard not to mess up these tips and do anything wrong, so that way when you get them that they're okay. Hopefully I succeed. If not, that's what you get for watching a janky channel like this. That's what I said at the beginning. But don't worry about it, everything's fine. Oh, there's I haven't put a purple in here yet. So there's a purple for all you purple lovers. A lot of you like purple. A lot of you love purple colors. You like violet. This is more like a violet. And you like that color, so I'm happy to give it to you here. Even though there's not a lot of it in this drawing total. I have a feeling this is going to be an ugly color that I probably don't like. It's probably going to be an ugly green color. It is an ugly... No, it's actually not a bad green color. There's a green I would actually use. Boy, I have put a lot of green in this one. I'm just going to smooth out this spot over here and then call it a day. This is called a yellow. It's Y914. I'm not sure why that is, but that's what they wanted to put there, so that's not a yellow at all. I wouldn't call that a yellow if you paid me to call that a yellow. That almost looks like the color that's right here. It could be the same color. I could keep grabbing the same ones. That's what I keep doing. Okay, let's get you more of a normal purple color here. So let's see, I'm going to do it like this. And that's what we're going to do. This will be the last spot here that I fill in. So I did change the composition a little bit here. I went ahead and put this coming down here and this going up this way. So more like a V pattern, rather than just having one thing that's tall here going off into the side. So I kind of connected this at the top. I liked connecting things to the edges I don't know why I do that, but I do enjoy doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some detail here. I'm going to kick it over into a time lapse, and you'll see me just put the detail in. I'll finish the conversation with you here in a minute. In which case, I could have just continued and done the regular watercolor like I was going to do and cut out the part where I dried it out and then just went and put the ink. I could have done that, and instead, because I'm a moron, I went ahead and I had to do this differently. But that's okay. I wanted to show you the markers anyway. I wanted to give them away, so that's a wonderful thing anyway. But here you go. I'm also going to add a pattern in the background in these spots here. That way they're not just blank spots. So I am going to do that. I may do that. I think there's a black marker here. I believe that's a black marker. So I'll do that with the black marker here. Alright, so calm down. I'm going to tell you how to get the markers right now. Here's what you do. You just go down in the comments and you tell me, hey, I want the markers. And what I will do is in the next video, I'm going to then announce who the winner of the markers were. And then I'm going to ask you, when I tell you who you are, that you have to go ahead and send me an email with your information. So I'm never going to go, listen, sometimes this happens on YouTube, so I'm never going to go into the comments and say, hey, you won whatever, send me your information. I'm never going to do that. I'm going to announce it in a video so that you know it's actually me, because there's people that go in there, they pose as someone that runs the channel, they are not that person, and then they go ahead and say, hey, give me your information, and people give them their information right there in the Don't do that. Ever. Don't do that ever. So listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, I just said this already, but I'm going to say it again. I'm going to announce who the person I picked through the comments. I'm just going to take names and throw them in a hat, basically, and pull a name out. Please be in the lower 48 states, the continental United States, and that way I can send this to you very easily. And that's who I'm going to send it to. Just anyone. I don't care if you're in Washington, California, Florida, Texas. I don't care where you are. Just go ahead and let me know, hey, I want those markers, and I'll announce it, and then you're going to send, I'll remind you again, you're going to send me an email and say, hey, this is my information, and then I'll send it to you. So that's not a big deal. Anyway, let's get back to what we're actually talking about here. That's the point of the video. You have to get back to the point of the video. By the way, before I get back to the point of the video, because I suck at this, I just wanted to mention that the markers were surprisingly good, and I didn't, I said it a couple times, but a lot of times when you put marker down on paper, especially the non-cotton paper, you will find sometimes that you see a lot of streaking with the markers. I didn't see that. Now sometimes I like that. I actually expected that. That's why I put these on this paper, because I was expecting some streaking, so that way it would say, oh, this is where I'm going to put down the lines, and I was going to show you that. But I didn't do that because they didn't really do that. At some spots it did, because I would go over it again and it would get a little darker in one area or another area. But all in all, this is very smooth markers. They worked very well, exactly as I would want any alcohol marker to work. That's how these worked. It's a huge list of colors. There's 100 different colors. Some of them, I said, don't match what the cap says. If you're looking for you go to pull that color, you're going to want to swatch these out, and then you're going to be able to pick them from the swatch. They say, okay, that number is this color, and that's how you're going to pull it. That's fine. I don't care that there's no names in there, that there's not like a color name in there. That doesn't bother me, so long as I know that color is that number and I can compare them. Once again, I will always say this, if you do not, most companies, 99% of the companies that are more affordable, they do not offer open stock, and I don't think this company offers open stock. Maybe they do somewhere, but they don't normally. So I will put a link down below if you do want to try these markers and you just want to purchase them and for yourself and see how they are. That's fine too, but all in all, they're good markers. They're good alcohol markers. I would be happy to have this set. I just have so many other alcohol markers that I have that I don't use very much. So But anyway, the point is, matter of fact, I have a ton of other markers. We're going to go into that in another video. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and send these to you, and hopefully you can enjoy them and create some art with them. And show me what you create with them if you get them. I would like to see it. So anyway, back to the actual topic finally. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is that when I'm doing something, I have a rough idea of the composition. I don't only build on the composition. If something starts to become interesting to me in a different direction, I'll do that. I don't hold myself to rules. You always hear me say I do not like rules with art. I do not hold myself to rules. I wouldn't hold anybody else to rules. I just say, okay, roughly in my head, this is the kind of composition I would like to create. I start creating it, but if something catches my attention, I'm like, oh, I like that. I want to develop it more. I just go off on a tangent, and I'll do something completely different. Like I did, you saw that one that had the that big like face on the bottom left, and it kind of sprung out from the side, and then there was like these weird branch things at the end. Anyway, it was one of the other pictures I showed you earlier. That was supposed to be that cone shape, and I ended up bringing it up and around because the shape itself was more interesting to me than the composition I was actually going to go for. Just like this one. I was going to just do something tall on the left and then make it go out more to the right. But it became more interesting to me, so I developed it more on the left and had it go up off the page in that top corner. It was just more interesting to me at the time. So just whatever you're doing, make sure you allow yourself the creativity that if you enjoy something or you're liking something or you want to see something happen, you don't hold yourself to the piece. Don't hold yourself that, oh no, I have to do it just like this. This is the only way that it can be done. Don't do that to yourself. Give yourself the freedom to create in any direction that you want. And if something in the spur of the moment just happens, you're struck with creativity, you can follow it through and say, maybe it doesn't work. That's fine too. But you can at least follow that path and say, okay, we're going to run this one out and see how it goes. This, I like this in the end. At first, I was looking at it and saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But then I got to the end of it. I'm like, oh, no, okay, I really like how that looks at the end of it. So just keep that in mind. I want you to enjoy what you're doing. That's the number one thing with art. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. I've said that 100 times. So I want you to enjoy the art. But while you're enjoying the art, be creative and just experiment with different things. You don't have to know, especially with abstract art, you don't have to know exactly what you're going to do, the patterns you're going to use or things like that. You don't need to know any of that stuff. All you need to do is figure out one thing and then do it. So in the other video, I showed you layers. I had no idea what I was going to do in that one, but I started to develop layers, and I just kept developing them until eventually I said, okay, I'm done. It had no idea what I was going to create. This one, composition. I just went along with the composition, started to develop another area that I thought was interesting, went in that direction, and finished. And that was it. It just allow yourself the freedom to do that kind of thing with art, because it's so important that you experiment. Experimenting with art is one of my favorite things to do. Experimenting with color, experimenting with direction and where you're going. That's just, I love that. Which is why I usually don't like to know what direction I'm going to go as I go through art when I start something. I don't want to know what the end result's going to be sometimes. I just have a basic idea of where I want to start, and then I use a method to get to the end. And whatever the end result is, that's what it is. And it's that moment in time that my brain was working in that direction, and that's what happened. And if you want to know more, you can ask these people popping up on the screen. They know everything about art, just in total. They know all about it. You can ask them anything. They'll be able to answer you. I'm not going to promise that, but they can do it. Don't worry about it. So thumb up the video. If you're going to try and do a composition, not know what you're going to start with, you're going to just say, I want to do something that maybe looks like this. And then you start doing it. And if you want to change direction, you change direction. But you follow that kind of a method when you start. You have no idea what you're going to create. I'm telling you, it's a very freeing experience when you don't know what you're going to create and you just start putting shapes in. And then you just add a little bit of pen on top, a little bit of detail Not a big deal. It works out just fine all the time, I promise. Alright, if you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. Alright, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.